Rachel, the 2025 Northwest Conference schedule for women's tennis is off and running, and you guys had an interesting weekend down in Oregon. A pretty convincing win at Linfield, and then a loss at George Fox that by final score didn't look that close, but maybe upon closer inspection was closer than it appears. Take us back through the weekend and what you take out of it for this team.
Yes, I would actually say both days are not necessarily what they appear to be. Linfield is a very tough school and still a good competition for us, especially up top. They have some really good seasoned players up top, and then they've got a younger bottom half of their roster. But there were some really close matches when we played Linfield as well, and I would say some very good W's that came from that day. As we moved into our match against George Fox, we beat Linfield 6-1 and we lost to George Fox 1-6. As you mentioned, I think the overall score doesn't necessarily reflect what the day actually encapsulated. That being said, Fox really competed well. I'm not disappointed at all in how we competed. I think more than anything, our whole team is leaving that weekend thirsty to have another look. And this is one of those moments where I'm really, really grateful that we're in the double round robin again. There were some really, really close matches all the way down, and I think Fox is one of those schools where at every spot in every position, even if we shift our rosters around here and there, we're always going to have probably some of our closest matches with George Fox. So on any given day, the score could be anything. Some highlights from George Fox. Gracie Smiley just played standout doubles and singles. She and her partner, Faith Kurt, posted a win at the number one doubles spot because of the new scoring system, that's not going to show up on paper, but they had a really convincing win at the number one spot. And then Gracie Smiley, again, at number one singles, our one victory in the big scoreboard. Just very decisive win over George Fox's number one. It was 1-1, and just, again, George Fox's player, I thought, played well. Gracie just is really coming into her own and had a very good match. Some of the rest of our matches all the way down were again, closer than the scores would look, but also we just had some really close matches. We had a three-setter at number 5, Audrey Judson, doing what she does, coming out with a very convincing 6-0 first set, and then her opponent made some adjustments, and her opponent is a seasoned senior from George Fox, who's a very talented player, and ended up taking that one from Audrey. But all in all, we're preparing and ready for George Fox to come compete against us on our courts. Another close match worth mentioning is at number 2 singles. Faith Kurt, our freshman, lost to a senior from George Fox in a split set match. And again, I think we'll be ready and even more prepared when we get to see them again.
You referenced double round robin and getting to see these teams again. It's been a while since we've had that opportunity. How does that adjust how you approach now each match going into it?
You know, I think this season, one of the things that's really standing out, especially now that we get to see each team twice and that every match is going to count, is that, man, there's some intention behind how we're approaching away matches versus how we approach home matches and just our mental set. That being said, you know, we can't control who we get to play at home when and who we get to play away at what point in the season, but we've been intentional about recognizing and preparing mentally for those away matches, knowing that we're going to have another look. George Fox, we lost 1-6. One of the things we always consider in a double round robin is, can we beat them by a bigger margin when they come and see us at home? And that means we need to beat them 7-0 if we want to be ahead of them in the postings at the end, if all of our matchup scores are the same. That might not be the case. Double round robin is going to be fascinating with this conference schedule because we're a close competing conference. So I think the order of finish is going to be messy at the end, because I think we'll see some upsets along the way for the rest of the season.
Well, you get a chance to continue the rest of the season this weekend at home against Puget Sound and Lewis and Clark. Talk about those matchups and what we'll face.
Yes, as I mentioned earlier, there's just every match, it seems like this conference is one that we cannot overlook, and also there's not a single match we cannot overcome, which is so fun to be able to have a team where we just know we get to show up and compete every day. Past seasons, there have been some significantly weaker schools or some significantly stronger schools, and honestly, like those are good matches as well, but it's something better, something different to actually be able to walk on the court and say, like, today is a day that I get to control my destiny. And I feel like every single match is one of those days for our players, and that's how you get better at competing. So as we look at Lewis and Clark and Puget Sound is rated as one of the weaker schools, but as I think we've referenced in one of these before, they also upset the number 1 seed Whitman in the very first weekend of conference play, so they're certainly not a school that we can overlook. That's who we're going to play on Sunday. On Saturday, I would say on paper, Lewis and Clark is going to be the school that we really need to beat if we want to be in the top 4 position for making it to the postseason play conference tournament. Lewis and Clark has had very similar results to a lot of the same opponents as us on paper, so I think that's going to be the closer matchup between Saturday and Sunday.